Hello everyone. So I wanted to make a quick review of my HP OMEN 15 with the AMD 4800H and the GTX1660 Ti. I've been using it for 4 months pretty much every day. It's been on 24/7. And I'm coming from a ZBook 17 which I used for about just about 6 years. And I kind of just want to give my feedback on this computer as it's kind of a new thing. I'd say it's very cheap for the amount of performance it provides. I actually got this one. You can probably get this for around $1,100. Obviously, you will need to upgrade the RAM and things like that. But I got this open box for $899. Then I upgraded it with 32 gigabytes of RAM, and essentially, there's no denying that this computer delivers a whole lot of power for this size, form factor, and the way it looks. As it doesn't really look like a full gaming laptop. Sure, it has those lights, but as we all know, if you've researched this computer, it looks like it can pretty much pass for a business computer. So that really is kind of one of the main reasons I did get it, because I'm really not a big fan of computers with crazy logos or just kind of looking like they're for gaming. I just want a professional computer. And this kind of seemed to match. I didn't really want to spend more like $2,000+ or anywhere near $2,000 this time, and I figured, why not? I'm just going to go for this thing. I was also interested in AMD. One thing I do really want to note is when you get the RAM, I will link which RAM to get correctly because I actually got the wrong RAM. It's a little it's not the easiest thing to buy. Normally, you just buy the RAM and it works, but you have to get the right RAM, otherwise it will not run at 3200 megahertz. So mine is still running at, was it a 2667? It's not gonna be that big of a difference, but at some point I gotta return it and get the right RAM. So I just wanna say that off the bat. So what's the difference really? What this laptop really comes down to, what is the difference between buying even something like a MacBook or a high-end ZBook, a computer that has $2,000 to $3,000? And this is really, I just want to say I really like this computer, but sometimes I feel like if I got a choice to buy it again, maybe I would just go for something that's kind of like $2,000 plus. And here's the reason. It's not really the performance, it's just the overall build quality. For example, this laptop, it just feels like a ultimate small compact box that is designed with excellent cooling, with everything kind of performance in mind, but outside of that, it does have a good port selection, but outside of that, it doesn't really excel in anything. The keyboard is not as good as the ZBook series. It's not as good. It's still a decent keyboard. If I were to rate the ZBook keyboard at, let's just say 10 out of 10, even though it might not be 10 out of 10, I would give this like a 7 or 6. It just has that like slight sloppy feel to it. The touchpad is pretty good. I would like to have dedicated buttons. This is another thing that is often on professional computers. But overall, I'd kind of give it, I don't know, 8 out of 10. It's not wobbly or anything, but overall, it is a good touchpad. So now moving on to some other things that I feel like are stripped. For example, audio. This computer has no bass whatsoever, and yes, it kind of sometimes can pump out a loud sound, but often, for example, if you're in a room with even some background noise and you're playing one of those YouTube videos, some of the YouTube videos where you play and they're just obnoxiously loud, and then there's other ones that are quiet. So if you have one of those videos that are kind of on the quiet side, there's a good chance you simply will not be able to watch it on this computer because of the volume issue. Same with the webcam and the microphone. They're all just okay. And this is what I want to point out. I'm not getting to the performance yet, is that you're really just paying for the performance under the hood, and everything else is kind of secondary. For example, the screen is quite good. This is the 1080p screen. So you can see I have a black here, so you can kind of see the blacks and whites. It's quite good. I honestly, I really can't complain. It could have slightly more true color, but it is good. I give it like an 8 out of 10. It's a good screen. It's honestly better than I expected. So this is kind of where you're coming to. You have a laptop. It has actually an excellent port selection. We got an SD card, microphone combo jack, HDMI, charging USB, Ethernet port, which is absolutely, like, this is key. This makes this computer, I feel like, 50% better, at least for me. Then we have 2 more USBs, Mini DisplayPort, and USB-C. And just to point out, this is not the Thunderbolt, because this is not the Intel version of the computer. That is kind of important to note because they are a bit different. You can display a monitor through this, but it will not work with, for example, adapters where you can plug in multiple devices into here. So This is kind of what it is. So you're getting this box. The reason I went with a 1660 Ti, obviously because there are much more expensive configurations of this computer, but as I kind of expected, if you look at the forums, it seems like there are a lot of people complaining about it getting really hot. And when you're packing the top end, what is it, like 3060 GPU into this computer, maybe it will work, but I feel like that's completely ridiculous. There's no way this is going to be adequately cooling such a configuration. It's not possible. Maybe you can somehow keep the temps not crazy high, but I know the previous HP OMENs had a lot of issues with them just basically burning out from overheating, and this computer actually has excellent cooling design compared to the previous one. I really do want to point that out and stress it significantly because the cooling has improved by like 5 times. There's no comparison between the previous model and this one. The entire bottom is open, has good vents on the sides, good vents in the back. And when I'm playing, or say I'm usually playing something like Valheim, it might seem like it's not a very demanding game, but if you're building a huge city in that game, it can actually be quite demanding. But in general, anything even like Deus Ex, the fans don't get that loud. And for example, I was rendering a 4K video. I believe it was my computer never went above 87 degrees. And that was during the summer when it was like 85 degrees out. That is for rendering at 100% CPU usage on all, what is it? I think 16 virtual, 8 cores, 16 virtual cores. That to me is a very good number. I mean, it didn't even break 90 degrees. That is very nice for a computer this small. So now, also it does have 2 SATA slots, which is nice. You can put 2 hard drives into it. It's incredibly easy to disassemble this, so you do not need any skill. There's just literally 4 screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and pull it slowly from the back, and the whole back just comes off, and it's incredibly easy to upgrade RAM, storage, or just in general look at the components or clean the fans, which with a gaming laptop you should definitely be doing. So what do I like or don't like about this computer? I would say the AMD performance is just, it's mind-blowing. I did wait basically 6 years to upgrade to a computer, and I can tell you that versus a i7 4700MQ, which is a quad-core 65-watt processor, this thing is just straight up, I don't even know, it's like there's no comparison. I know many of the previous years, for example, the models they weren't really that much faster. Yeah, the new one was a little faster. The one 2 years later was a little marginally faster. But I was doing like a rendering. I believe my old ZBook did it in 16 minutes. This computer did the same exact render in 3.5 minutes in 4K. That just gives you kind of an idea of how much performance is in this little beast. And this is part of the review where it's hard to decide, because say I could get a ZBook 17 or 15, the premium quality, and all these features like the keyboard, touchpad, all that would be better, but it would be much more expensive. And in the end, if this computer is just sitting on a table, or if you're a budget student, this is like an unbelievable, like the amount of power that you get in this, especially if you can pick it up on eBay or anything like that. Literally, you can play, yeah, you won't be able to play the newest games on high, but any game that's 2 or 3 years old, you should be able to play in pretty much highest graphics at 1080p. It will do any 3D rendering, all that stuff with an absolute breeze. If you're not getting that top-end GPU, you're never going to have cooling problems. You should also be getting minimum 3 hours of battery life. I haven't tested it in a bit, and I know there were some driver issues at first, but those have been mainly sorted out. But if you're just a student and you're looking to get a computer, it's essentially, I feel like a few years ago, you could never get anything like this for even remotely the price. It's just not even close. Like, this will do everything. Absolutely everything. There's nothing you can't run, like can't play, can't edit, can't 3D model, you can have Chrome with 240 tabs, 80 YouTube tabs open. It won't even flinch. It's super fast. So from that perspective, this is an amazing computer, but I do want to just stress that if you want to spend more money, I'm not quite sure what I would recommend just yet, but this is like a computer where it feels nice, it looks nice, it looks like you carry it around in an office. I'm a big fan of it, but it's a computer that you kind of, you lightly place it down on the table. when I had my ZBook 17, it's more of a computer, you just toss it. You know this computer, it's literally military tested, it's down for anything. And here you just got this kind of a nice delicate plastic box that works, but it does everything needed. So this is just an important point that I want to stress to people. And this is why I really rate this computer extremely highly, because in the end, you're paying pennies for this, and it's perfectly understandable that they pretty much sacrificed many high quality parts to do that. And that's totally fine, because the cooling, the performance, and I think the screen, which are literally all the most important things, all live up, and along with all the ports and connectors. So yeah, I think if you're going to be using the actual physical keyboard and you plan on gaming on the computer itself, it's not as comfortable as maybe a slightly bigger computer. And obviously, because if you ever plan to use it on your lap, it will get hot because the vents are, as you can see, the bottom is completely open. So yeah, that really is a choice. I think for any general kind of college student or person, especially if you're not traveling a lot, like I do slightly worry about the fragility of this computer. But if you're not on the road and maybe you're even just sitting in class, but something similar, you're putting in a backpack, going to class, that's fine. But if you want to be more on the road, you want something rugged, something that you can fully depend on, something where, for example, you don't need to remove the motherboard to replace the keyboard. That's an important thing. So if you're out in the field and you're having a problem with your keyboard, you can either buy one on, for example, for a ZBook on eBay, or you can have HP come out and replace it. But even now, they have to remove the entire motherboard. Even just like very, very small things you might not be able to see. I don't know if you can tell. It's really difficult to see. But one of the color changing lights is slightly off, and luckily it's kind of behind one of the keys, so it doesn't shine me in the face. But sometimes I'll notice that one of the keys is just a little light is stuck the same color. So yeah, this is a kind of, like I said, this is not really a technical overview. I'm not really going into benchmarks. I'm just kind of going over how I feel using this computer over the last 4 months. I've been incredibly happy with it. But coming from a computer where everything was kind of premium, top notch, and literally it's a computer you could take anywhere, do anything, whether you're in the rainforest, jungle, beach. You're never going to worry about any of it breaking. It has the anti-spill proof keyboard, for example. This one doesn't have that. Yeah, it definitely does not have that. So things like that. It's a nice, delicate working machine. And I think for what HP tried to do, which is create a computer that is accessible for price to essentially anyone, this is almost a 10 out of 10, I'd say. Because you just can't fault it on those small things. It is what it is. It compromises to deliver the absolute most performance you can possibly get in a small, non-gaming, non-thick package that looks sleek, and it actually even has improved cooling. So if you have the screen closed and you have it on your desk, it has improved cooling versus the screen kind of shutting the entire top. Has a cool looking logo. I totally recommend it. And if you're looking for more kind of benchmarks, specs, there's plenty of other reviews. This is just my feeling of using this thing daily for 4 months. Hope that helps.